Hi there, 9:15. Welcome back. So burnout, anxiety, depression, suicide reaching record levels, according to new data from the National Institute of Health. But there's hope for anyone who's struggling. And as we round out Mental Health Awareness Month, an expert is sharing how we can get to the root of tough emotions, behaviors, and addictions. Joining us live, addiction treatment specialist and recovery expert, TJ Woodward. TJ, so good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning. I am so grateful to have this important conversation. As you said, we're rounding out Mental Health Awareness Month, so I think this is something that's really important we discuss.
Absolutely. And the fact that some of these things, anxiety, depression, suicide, reaching record levels, I mean, what is going on? What can we do to stop this?
Well, I think we have seen these rise throughout the years steadily, but the pandemic certainly ramped things up. You know, we were in isolation, people were in fear. There was a lot of polarization happening. I know in the behavioral health world, we're seeing more and more clients needing support. We're seeing, as you already mentioned, higher suicide rates. Mental health acuity is getting, more and more extreme. And I think the bottom line is people are feeling more and more isolated, and it's time for us to really support each other in our best and best possible mental health.
All right. So when it comes to we need to support each other, how do we do that? Because it sounds easy, but also kind of overwhelming as well.
Well, I think part of the conversation that's really important is that we don't stigmatize it. I think looking back, if you look even 20 years ago, I don't think people were really talking about mental health and wellness the way we are now. I mean, we've seen national sports figures coming out and talking about their mental health. I think we're in a new era and there's a larger conversation happening. So I think it starts with really hearing each other and being willing to share our own journeys and our own stories so that people don't feel even more isolated when they're experiencing these mental health concerns.
Yeah, and I do think that, I mean, you made a good point that we're hearing from celebrities and athletes about their mental health issues, because I think sometimes when you talk about your own story, there's a vulnerability there and maybe even almost a liability. Like, what's going to happen at my job, or what is my family going to think? So how do we get over some of those feelings to live our truth?
I think a big part of it is, as you said, vulnerability, authenticity. We're seeing people with great courage. I know, for example, I've worked with a lot of men, and I think traditionally men were not allowed to really talk about their feelings. We're seeing that change, which is really encouraging to me. The old way of just burying things and pretending like it's not there isn't working anymore. And so I think, as you said, vulnerability, authenticity, really sharing with one another our own journeys. I don't think there's any of us who haven't had some experience with mental health concerns across the board now.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of us feel that overwhelm also because obviously not many of us are mental health professionals, but when you see a family member or a friend struggling, what can we do right now to support them, or at least be there for them in a way that it feels authentic to us?
Well, I think a big part of it is really hearing them.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of us have a tendency to offer advice, and sometimes the best thing we can do for someone is just to say, I hear you. And I think one of the conversations I'm in that's really important to me is a shift from just looking at symptoms and behaviors. I mean, if we look back at the mental health profession over the decades, a lot of it has been, what are your symptoms? How do we get rid of them? And I think there is something important about that, but we're realizing now that it's not just physical or mental. There's also an emotional and spiritual aspect to it. And I think the days of we just need to get rid of all the symptoms, I think we're moving beyond that now, and we're beginning to ask what's actually at the root of this rather than just how is it showing up for you. And I think that shift alone is something that's profound.
And I do think that's profound, although I have to, if I'm going to be quite frank, I have been to therapy and I feel like, okay, I'm at the root of what's causing all these problems, but now that I'm at the root, what do I do? I know I have all these issues, but what do I do next? Where do we go from there?
Oh my gosh, I love that you're saying that, because that was my experience.
Really?
All through my 20s, yeah, I went to therapy and I'm like, now I understand the pattern. I understand where it came from, but what do I do with it?
Right.
And that's to me where the emotional and spiritual piece come in, because I think traditional talk therapy alone isn't necessarily going to help us shift the pattern. We're going to recognize the pattern. And if anything, I think sometimes it becomes even more painful. Oh my gosh, I'm aware I'm doing this, but I can't stop doing it.
Yes.
So, in my work, Conscious Recovery, I help someone get down to the root of not only what is the root cause, but really what is the emotion attached to that? When did I first decide that I was broken? Because so many of us in early childhood have experiences where we decide things like, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, I'm stupid. And these decisions are something that happens so early. So, we actually need to go back and care for ourselves as if we're a young person, not just how do I figure out the pattern and then change it?
Addiction treatment specialist and recovery expert TJ Woodward, wonderful information. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.